Let's rip through our top 5 father-son duos in college basketball history.
I think there's two different classes in the father-son duo. There is the father-son duos that the son played for the father, which I think is a totally different experience than just, I played at Miami and my son played at Oregon State, if we're talking about Rick Barry and Britt Barry.
You could also do, like you said, coach player. Is it the two players? Like, are we judging it off of the father was a great player, son was a great player? Is it the father was the coach, the son was the player? Or is it father was coach, son was coach? I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you could. Is there any scenario where father was player, son was coach? I guess that would be.
My first gut instincts, I'm thinking number 5 is Doc Rivers and Austin Rivers. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Doc, retired jersey. Retired jersey is a big thing for me when we're talking about legacies.
Okay.
I like retired jerseys. It's a big one for me. So number 31 retired at Marquette. Sub-Zero, as he was nicknamed when he went to Duke, Austin Rivers. He obviously I was at the game to Will Bonnet when he hit the shot in Chapel Hill. I fell to my seat. I was depressed. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, all right, number 5, they deserve it. Austin Rivers had that big moment. Obviously, Doc has been great, even into his coaching career. Austin's had a pretty solid career in the NBA, is now a veteran in the NBA. So I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt. And then I had in this mind a Lee Corso moment where it's not so fast. I was trying to be unbiased, and I think I'm actually correct in this. It's the Dawkins family. So number 5, throw out the Rivers. Johnny Dawkins and Aubrey Dawkins are now number 5 on my list. And that is how you know it's not biased because Johnny Dawkins, 37-3 at Duke. He started a culture. He obviously, groomed into what Coach K has been able to build as far as his coaching tree. Johnny Dawkins was one of the first seeds that was planted out in the college basketball world, went to Stanford, made a moment. And then the last time we saw an actual tournament, 2019, people forget, UCF, the same school that Michael Jordan's son went to, Marcus, or transferred to. Aubrey Dawkins, Johnny Dawkins' son, becomes, in my opinion, the most revered player, maybe outside of Taco Fall, by beating Duke, the number 1 seed in their bracket, the number 9 seed. He has 32 points in that game. Has a great little run at UCF, and I put the Dawkins family in at number 5.
My number 5 also has to do with the 2019 NCAA tournament, Tate, except I'm not picking the team that lost in the second round to Duke. I'm picking the team that won the national championship. My number 5 father-son combo, Dick and Tony Bennett. So I went with the coach, one of 2 father-son combinations to make the Final Four as coaches. Do you know who the other one is?
Who is it?
John Thompson and John Thompson III.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. They're the other ones. So Dick Bennett had a .582 winning percentage all time. Not that good. He only won 57% of his games at Wisconsin. Also not that good. But I thought the fact that Tony Bennett plays the Dick Bennett brand of basketball and just won a national title, it kind of solidified, it like retroactively validates Dick Bennett's coaching tenure.
Number 4 for me, moving on, I got the West Coast that was taken over by Big Wave Billy and his son Luke Walton. Bill Walton, of course, is probably resume wise, he's up there. 2-time national champion. Was a 3-time National College Player of the Year. 2-time Final Four Most Outstanding Player. Luke was 2-time first team All Pac-10. People forget. I think as far as the impact on the West Coast, we talk about Pac-12 basketball. We do the Pac-12 update. I do love the idea that they were able to spread their wings, manifest the Walton family to Arizona. Obviously a rival, I believe, with the UCLA and Arizona. They were able to mend that gap so that for the rest of time, Bill Walton could always talk about the Conference of Champions.
Right.
And everyone would be pulling for Bill Walton's words because his son was able to go somewhere else and thrive at Arizona. Number 4 on my list, the Walton family.
Number 4 for me is I'm worried that they might be higher up on your list, but maybe not. You never know how these things go. We surprise each other from time to time. My pick is Dell and Steph Curry. Tate. That came to mind immediately. I'll be honest, I didn't want to put him on there because I didn't think Dell was that good in college. I knew he was okay. Like, he's obviously played in the NBA and he had a great career in the NBA, but I was like, I don't remember him being that good. And then I look it up, and in '86, he's a second-team All-American. He averages 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists a game as a senior. I thought Dell Curry averaged like 17 points a game on a 10-win team throughout his entire Virginia Tech career. I was wrong. So when I looked up the stats, between Dell being second-team All-American and Steph just like completely revolutionizing basketball and breaking our brains in 08 and 09, they had to be on my list. So I put them at number 4.
I love that. And yeah, I'm going to get to the Currys later, but I'm going to get to
I thought you might.
Yeah, of course. But I'm going to get to the other Splash brother right now with his father, a #1 pick, Michael Thompson and Klay Thompson. Their combined points was 3,748 points. And we had a whole list of all the combined points. That's pretty high up there, first and foremost. And then we're going to get back to my #1 stat, retired numbers. And that's what we have for Minnesota. Michael Thompson, number 43, retired. Klay Thompson, #1, retired.
The fact that Tony Bennett got Klay Thompson to go to Washington State.
Pretty good.
I should bump Tony and Dick Bennett up on my list, to be honest. My #3 pick is another father-son combination that was UCLA, Arizona. It is the lesser known. I think if you say father-son of UCLA and Arizona, most people probably think of the Waltons. What they might not think of is Henry and Mike Bibby, Tate. Ooh. I have them at #3 on my list. They are the only father-son duo. Stick with me on this one. Big Ten stat of the day coming. They are the only father-son duo to win national titles and also be first-team All-Americans. Not in the same year. Mike was not in the same year. Henry was. Henry Bibby, a million years ago, playing for John Wooden, was a starting point guard for 3 national championship UCLA teams. First-team All-American in 1972. Of course, Mike wins the title as a freshman in 1997. This was back when having a freshman point guard win a national championship was a massive deal. And then he kind of like opened the floodgates. There's probably someone that did it before him, but that's how I remember it. Neither guy was like necessarily a blockbuster, like can't miss, this guy's an absolute legend of the game per se, but they were both first team All-Americans and they both won national titles. What more do you want from a basketball player?
#2 for me, the Maravich family. You mentioned them earlier. Press and Pete. This is basically because I think that Press invented the model of college basketball by using the clout of and the talent of your child to then wedge your way into a job. We can talk about all that Pistol Pete did, but the fact that his dad controlled the whole process is baller. He took LSU and made them a basketball program. You talk about like creating an institution out of nothing, something out of nothing. They did that together. And I think it was their only postseason appearance in the 24-year span was gifted by Pistol Pete and Press. And that's
what's like the CBI. They didn't make the tournament, did they?
No. That was their only postseason appearance. They had. The CBI, sure.
I have no. I don't think he ever made the tournament. I don't think Pistol Pete ever made.
No, he never made the tournament. That was their only postseason appearance in their history. Happened with him his junior year.
I have more. Should you tell me I have more NCAA tournament rebounds than Pistol Pete, one of the greatest college basketball players of all time?
Yes.
Take that to the bank. My #2, Scott and Sean May, Tate. A biased pick for the two of us. Obviously, Sean May represents the North Carolina angle of this for you. Scott May is the Indiana angle for this. But it's not just biased in that sense. This pick isn't just the pick because it's biased, because they're Indiana and Carolina. They are, here's a little caveat for them and why I put them at #2. They are the only father-son combination to win national titles as the best players on their team. A little history lesson for the youngins. Scott May, 1976 National Player of the Year.
Yep.
He was a 2-time first-team All-American, so he's first-team All-American in 75. Indiana goes undefeated in 75. Scott May breaks his arm against Purdue. They lose to Kentucky in the Elite Eight when Scott May only plays 7 minutes because he's got this massive cast on his arm and he's kind of ineffective. Otherwise, the stories around Bloomington are that if Scott May does not break his arm against Purdue, Indiana has back-to-back undefeated seasons.
#1 on the list, Dell Curry, Steph Curry. Stephen Curry's story, not being on Dave Tellup's top 100 list. Virginia Tech, even though Dell Curry, like you said, was a lot better of a player than people remember, 24 points per game, taking him to the tournament. They didn't even give his kid a shot. So the story of Stephen Curry around North Carolina, for me, it was just that whole status. And then obviously watching Dell with Muggsy and the Hornets back in the day, there was an affinity for Dell. Everyone loves Dell. He still calls games for the Hornets. And then for those two guys to just be supreme scorers individually, separately, and not even have the legacy to get your son to be able to go to the same school, and he does it independently on his own. I think that's pretty cool.
Your #1, someone that I put lower on my list. My #1 is someone you put lower, a family you put lower. My #1, Bill and Luke Walton. Bill Walton, for me, is the second best player of all time behind Kareem. Bill Walton never lost a game by more than 5 points. He's an all-time legend. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking all that has to happen for Bill Walton to fall from the #1 spot is for Luke to not be as good as I remember. And then I go up and look up Luke. I get a refresher. Luke Walton was as good as I remember. 2-time first team All Pac-10. He averaged his 2 seasons as a starter at Arizona. He averaged 13 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. Pretty good. the Waltons are pretty good passers. I think that needs to be underscored here, is that the Walton family knows how to pass the ball. So Luke led a team to number 1. We already talked about it earlier. They were ranked number 1 for most of his senior year. So Luke definitely did enough for me to pair that with one of the greatest players to ever play the game. It was a no-brainer for me to put the Waltons at number 1.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.